Hey, what's up guys? Back at the sharpening table here today, and we're going to talk about how to sharpen a convex knife. So we're going to demonstrate using the Bark River Aurora here. This is my knife. It's a beautiful knife, and it has a convex grind that starts right here. Now what we're talking about when we say convex grind is literally the word convex versus concave. So concave would be a hollow grind, and a convex would be an outward grinded bevel. So this is our apex, our actual cutting edge. Our convex bevel would look something like this. Now for you guys that sharpen on whetstones, which is what I primarily use, notice that we have a rounded surface here that comes all the way to our apex. And of course your stones are hard and flat. So how do you sharpen a rounded surface on a hard flat stone? So that's what we're going to work around here. Some people just end up sharpening their knives with a micro bevel on them, so over time they end up with just this flat bevel. But you really don't want to do that to your convex, because what happens is over time, as you sharpen and move this in, you get a really thick edge. So this is what you'll eventually end up with, which is will offer terrible cutting performance. So let's look at how to sharpen that rounded surface on your hard flat stone. So today I'm going to be using my sharpenable whetstones. Got quite a bit of use on them, so I'm just going to give them a quick clean up here. They're soaking in some water for the last couple hours, because I've been working them here on various tools. But we're going to start off with the 400 and the 1000 combo stone. Let's start off with the 400 side. The links will be down in the description if you're interested in purchasing the exact stones I'm using here. Now, a technique I always tell people to use when sharpening is to lay their knife's edge on the stone and to tip the bevel until the shadow disappears under the edge, and they'll know that that is the angle they want to find. That works great when you have a flat bevel. When you have a rounded bevel like this, it's a little more difficult. I can rotate up, but we have a constant round surface. The idea is you never want to go past still getting that shadow on your blade. So we're going to start here on our 400, like I said. The idea with a convex is you don't want to just hold that angle. That's what's kind of counterintuitive when you start learning how to sharpen convex blades, is that with non-convex blades we always talk about try to be consistent, hold that angle as perfect as you can. With convex you want to do the opposite. As you're working your knife, you want to vary your angle, so you never want to come up past where the apex is, but you want to come up to it. Remember, you have a flat stone and a rounded surface, so what essentially you're doing is creating a whole bunch of little tiny facets on your steel. Now this is a hard steel here now, so it's not going to do that super quickly, but you want to just start working your knife and sharpen what you feel is that contour. So you're going to work all the way. You can see probably a few scratches up here now. We're going to work our bevel all the way up here to try to cut off some steel the entire length of that convex. Here now on the rough stone, you don't have to be super particular with this. It doesn't matter if it looks rough. We'll show you how to clean that up later. But that's what we're going to do right now. Just start working white steel on the entire length of that convex. So that means as you're sharpening, you're going to be lowering your angle and you're going to be steeping your angle. Just make sure you follow that round. Now something you might be wondering is, how do we know when we're done with a single grit or with a single side of the knife? So I'll make sure this entire convex bevel is covered with 400 grit scratches. So I've removed steel from the entirety of it, and also that I have a nice, clean, gritty but sharp edge with no dents, chips, or rolls. I'm just about finished on my 400 grit stone. And what I'm going to do is a couple light cutting strokes right up where there's no shadow on my apex, and that is just to clean up that apex and to remove some of that burr. A wire burr forms right at your edge. once you've really brought the edge to an apex, especially with a coarse stone like this. The burr is plenty pronounced, you can see it. And there we have it. So you notice now this is this clean satin finish up here, which is what we had before we started sharpening, but notice all this convex bevel here has been touched by that 400 grit stone, and I've made sure that I've filed away all the way along, and the same thing goes for this underside, right down to the apex. The entire width or depth, however you want to say it, of this convex grind has been filed. Now you notice that the look is not quite as pretty as what we started off with. That's only because we've started off with a coarse stone, so you don't have to get discouraged by that. You file enough with your other stones and you'll remove all those scratches and get it back to a nice finish, probably even more than a satin finish again. So what I'm going to do now is switch over to the 1000 grit side of this combo stone, and we'll start removing those scratches. Now our whole job, as I was saying earlier, when we switch to the new grit, is to remove all the scratches from the previous grit. So once we switch over now to the 1000, I want to replace all these 400 grit scratches with 1000 grit. The 1000 grit side feels, of course, so much more slick. Just a much better feeling. So as you can see, now that we're finished up with the 1000 grit, it's looking much better. So you have nothing to worry about there. We're starting to get out those deep scratches, and now we'll go over to the 3000 and we'll really start refining this, and it'll start looking good. If you don't mind the aesthetics right off this 1000 grit stone here now, it is super crispy sharp. If you've played your cards right, that is one sharp working edge. Of course we're going to go further and give it a little polish here now. So the 3000 grit stone it is. Going to give our 3000 here a little scrub with our Nagura stone, also from Sharp Pebble. And then we're going to get to work. Further refining. Same thing goes again. We're working to remove those 1000 grit scratches now. So don't change your process. Work up to your apex all the way back to where you feel that convex stops. You might have a blade that's full convex, which continues around right to the spine. That's even easier again because you don't have to worry about getting up on your flat surface. That's it for the 3000. You can see we're looking pretty good there now, pretty even as a flat stone can do for a rounded surface. Now we're switching over to our 8000 grit side and repeating the exact same steps again. So here's our finish right off the 8000 grit stone. It's not perfectly smooth. With a hard stone like that, it would take a long time. We just have to spend more time in order to create or cover every facet so that we would get a uniform finish. It's difficult to do with a hard stone like that, but we can even it out with a good heavily compounded strap. A strap with a little bit of absorption, and if you just strap and follow that convex, it'll help blend all those scratches together, and it'll just give you a much better finish. And there we have it, a convex grind sharpened on a flat whetstone. Hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. If you're interested in the Sharp Pebble stones, there's a link down below. We'll see you next time.